What's up YouTube, this is GalacticGod and I'm here today with a video about rogue decks. I'm going to explain to you what they are, why people use them, and what the advantage of dueling with these decks actually are. Now in every format there is a meta. The meta is comprised of the decks that are used most often, the ones that top the most events, and the ones that are used by the most players. Typically duelists use these kind of decks because they are the most consistent, the most powerful, and will ultimately lead to the best results in a tournament for them. Also, normally you can find cards in the side deck that will counter the meta decks. So if, for example, Dragon Rulers and Prophecy are the meta decks, most people would either main deck or side deck for sure cards that will counter a Dragon Ruler or Prophecy deck. Decks that aren't used so much in the meta, let's say like Morphtronics for example, people will not typically have cards to side against a Morphtronic deck. So if you take a Morphtronic deck to the event, you're considered playing a rogue deck because this is a deck that is not normally used. So why do people actually play rogue decks? Well, there's a multitude of reasons. One, a duelist can simply be tired of using meta decks that might be towards the end of the format, and in past formats they used to be 6 months long. So when you get to like 4 or 5 or even the 6 months into the format, people kind of get tired of playing the same decks over and over and over again, and they just want to try something different, or they've already learned the meta deck so well that they feel that this certain other deck might be the perfect counter to it. And they feel like just that deck alone inherently stops the meta deck, and they can use that to their advantage and play against it. Other duelists consider themselves pioneers and like to develop the new meta, if you will, and so they're constantly on the lookout for decks that could be the next meta deck. And so they're always trying out different decks, new things in existing decks, new tech cards, and they just want to kind of develop an existing deck into a meta deck, if you will, into like the top tier deck. Third, there are duelists that really hate meta decks, like with a passion. They can't stand anyone that, you know, constantly just net decks the meta deck, and they want to be different and they want to be rogues themselves and go against the grain, and they simply, you know, play a rogue deck out of spite against the meta. And finally, the last reason why most duelists play rogue decks is that they're usually economical. Normally, the top tier meta decks, they're typically comprised of cards from the newest sets, including secrets and ultras and ultimates, stuff that hasn't been reprinted yet or available in lower rarity form. So normally playing a rogue deck allows you to spend less money on constructing the deck in general. So if you're a duelist on a budget, this can be quite appealing to you. So what are the benefits of playing a rogue deck? One of the best examples I can give is that normally when you're using a rogue deck, your opponent doesn't know quite what you're trying to do, what your ultimate goal is, what your win condition of the deck that you are using could be. So when you're making your plays, your opponent might have something that could counter you or stop you, but they're not exactly sure when they should play the card that will do so. A lot of rogue decks are combo based, but a lot of them can play through their combo if they're not stopped at the right time, but if they are, they can fall apart. So knowing when to play that Effect Veiler or Max C or Fiendish Chain or Bottomless is real integral when dueling against a rogue deck. So if your opponent activates Effect Veiler too prematurely, or Bottomless is the wrong monster and you're able to continue on with your combo, it can be quite detrimental to them. Also, since rogue decks aren't part of the meta, most duelists will not have any cards in their side deck that will actually counter your deck per se. Sometimes they may have a few generic cards that counter a multitude of decks, but nothing too specific should be in their side deck that will counter one random rogue deck that they might run across. Usually when duelists construct their side decks, it's to counter the majority of the meta. So you'll have side deck answers for their deck, but they won't have them for yours. So in the comment section below, let me know what you guys think of rogue decks. Are they a good alternative to duelists who do not wish to play the meta no more? Are they something that you yourself have tried and took into large-scale tournaments? Do you prefer to play meta-based decks, or do you like to go rogue? And I guess that's it for now. This is GalacticGod.